welcome back to Brashenomics. If I don't figure out how to raise our walkability score, I don't know if I'll ever be able to sell my house online. Scott Cannon joins us for the first time, managing broker with Windermere Real Estate. And, well, first of all, welcome, Scott. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
So, we've just barely met. Are you from the area?
Yeah, I grew up on Mercer Island and lived in Bellevue, Sammamish, and then went to work for Weyerhaeuser, and thought I'd go to school at UW and get a forestry degree and live here the rest of my life. The first thing they did is they transferred me to Minnesota, Kentucky, Arkansas, Baltimore, Louisiana, Texas, California.
So what brought you all the way back here and now, selling real estate?
One last transfer, and then I decided to retire from Weyerhaeuser and get into real estate.
Got it. And so now that you're here, I mean, you've kind of seen a lot of different parts of the country, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so what do you think is great about Seattle, especially the living and being in real estate here versus maybe seeing other parts of the country?
Well, I thought about like a market like Dallas, Texas. It has unlimited land. It's all flat. It's all easily buildable. The appreciation value is very small. Here you've got water, you've got mountains, you've got thoroughfares that are very difficult to build around. You've got a real shortage of buildable area. And to add to that, you've got a wonderful job market. You've got Boeing, you've got high tech, you've got the importing, exporting, out of the port. It's just a tremendous atmosphere for people to want to come to work. And we're just totally different than the other places I've worked.
You talk about the amount of land, and we've had a lot of conversations on this show about, the lack of inventory. And, what is going on with, why are people, there's just not enough houses. I mean, David and I were just talking about how the houses that are out there, sometimes you just have to be more patient. But it seems like some buyers' patience may be wearing a little thin.
Well, the transition we've had through this recession from the last 36 months has been from 2-3 years of inventory to right now we're running inventory in the King County aggregate. We're running less than 3 months inventory. In Bellevue, it's less than a month's inventory. In parts of Queen Anne, it's 3 weeks inventory. We've got ourselves a real shortage, and I don't think this shortage is going to go away anytime soon. I think it's going to be exacerbated by future conditions we're going to talk about here in a minute.
So let's hit on those. I mean, why do you think the shortage of inventory is going to stick around so long?
Well, at the peak in 06, 07 in America, if you included all new construction, whether it be apartments, condominiums, or townhomes and single family, we were just shy of 2.25 million starts in America. And we've averaged about 500,000 for the last 5 years. So we've got a huge drain on the need for housing in America. At the same time, between population growth, immigration, and decay, we need 1.5 million homes a year, 1.5 dwellings a year to remain status quo. We've lost 5 or 6 million of that status quo, which is 10% of our total inventory across America, right there. And what we've done in the last 5 years is the builders that are building are extracting the few available lots, building on them, and you're not seeing them until just recently actually go through the permitting process, which is a 2, 3, 4 year process to find new land and develop it to build on. So we've got ourselves a problem that's going to, I think, become more accelerated and more exacerbated in the future.
But when you talk about inventory, it's not just new inventory. I mean, this is also people who are reselling their house. So it would seem that if there is such a shortage, then prices will come up, and then you'll actually maybe have people start selling their houses, right?
We've got so many moving gears here, it's hard to even describe. So one of the pieces that's out there is the REO inventory, the bank inventory. And the inventory in King County has dropped from nearly 1,200 listings 12 months ago to 250 listings. They're REO driven in the entire country, entire county this month. That's a 70% drop of inventory, just REO alone. In Pierce County, it's even worse than that. Actually, last week I was working with a Weyerhaeuser transferee coming in. They had 35 homes they want to look at. They're coming out of Hot Springs, Arkansas. I actually used to live in Hot Springs, or at least Little Rock.
Small town.
Yeah, it is a small town. It's a great town. Not a single REO. A year ago, Pierce County, I would have had 15 REOs. Not a single one. I have friends who focus on REOs, and they're laying off their staff. We don't know what's going on with the REOs. They're out there, but they're not coming on the market.
Do you have any idea why that is? I've heard election. I've heard
you got the same.
They don't need a big gluttony. Everything feels a little warm and fuzzy right now.
It's not a good year to force foreclosures for the existing government. It's far more complex than that. But right now, the vast majority, this is your background, of all loans are packaged for the government to take over in their quasi lending programs. And the number I've heard is 90% of all loans end up with a government backed.
Yeah, with FHA, Fannie Mae, or Freddie Mac.
And if it weren't
something like 95%,
93 is the number I actually heard.
Yeah.
So if it weren't for those programs, we would have a very small inventory of available loans because banks aren't going to want to take 30-year fix at 3.25, 3.5. The banks that are out there servicing the loans are not the ones behind the loans. The ones that are controlling the inventory in REO are actually the government entities. And it's very easy for the government entities to shut off the valve.
And not foreclose.
It's
kind of, I guess, that same thing. We talk a lot about short sales on our show. And, the short sale process, it goes to the servicer, which might be your Bank of America or Wells Fargo, but they're not making the decision. They send it back to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, which is really these government-sanctioned entities at this point in time. They're explicitly backed by the government. They're explicitly backed by S, I think. That's a whole nother conversation. So, so do you think then at the end of the election cycle that you would see a lot more come on?
I've heard that there are up to 7 million homes that are either in the foreclosure process or have been foreclosed on that have not hit the market. I can't find any proof for that. I do feel that there are a lot of homes out there that I can witness that are not on the market. They're being slowly brought forth and not trying to really correct the problem. But who knows how big that problem is? In Seattle, I don't think it's as big as other parts of the country because we have a better economy. So I don't think the REOs in the Seattle market are as bad as other parts of the country.
I would agree with that. I mean, our economy, we're definitely strengthened by a very good local economy.
Very much
and we're also catching, a lot of the positive effects, quote unquote, of very low interest rates because of a lot of negative economic factors across the entire world. Yeah. Yet Seattle and there's a couple others, like, Houston, I was just up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada is like booming right now.
It is a boom town.
And so you get all these places that are really still doing very well. And it is at the expense of the Detroits and in other places in Michigan and the Midwest. And so it's interesting to see how we end up with such a positive effect from the low mortgage rates. Yet really, we have a booming economy.
If you had an opportunity in Seattle right now, it's a good time to be buying. You cannot replace existing inventory for the prices that they're selling for right now.
What do you think it's going to take for people to actually put their homes on the market?
Boy, that's complicated. To finish off on the REOs, the other subject would be short sales. Now, short sales are about a third of the inventory right now. A third of the market is in a short sale situation. Short sale means that the seller has to come to close with money. And in most cases, they don't have the money to do it. So if they're lucky and they have a hardship, and hardship's the only way you can get out of it, is that they have a hardship and they can work with a forbearance from the lien holders. And in the state of Washington, one lien, you give the keys, you can actually walk. But the second lien has the ability to lien you for up to 6 years. They give you notice in 6 years for 10 years. A second notice gives them another 10 years. So you can actually have yourself a problem a long ways out. So if you don't have a hardship, these short sales can't come on the market. And that's about a third of the owners in King County right now are underwater. And then if you add the real estate costs and the excise tax and the reconveyance and fees, it's even higher than that. So that's about a 30 to 40% of the market that just totally can't come on for sale right now.
So it almost seems, if you'd have to see maybe a 20% increase in prices from the people who bought in 2007, 2008.
Really, truly, it's going to take price increases. It's going to be a battle to get the prices up because once you're starting this up, and really the recovery is not driven. This little bit of hysteria we have going on right now is not driven by high sales. Our sales are up about 10% over a year ago. It's our inventory is 50% of where it was a year ago. Our turns, our takeaway right now is over 50% a month. A year ago, it was 25% a month. So it's not the fact that there's so many more buyers out there, and it's a perfect time to be buying. The environment is absolutely perfect. There's good buying activity, not strong buying activity. We're a fraction of what we used to be. But the inventory is shrinking so dramatically, the competition's starting to show up.
It's almost creating a frenzy.
Yep. In parts of the market it is.
And do you think it's false, or you think this is here to stay around for a while?
My bet is it's here, especially in Seattle. Now, not to say that the European Union doesn't dissolve, or Greece goes under, or the pigs falter, that'll keep cheap money coming our direction, or China, their growth goes down to 4% and everybody panics. That could still happen and keep this interest rate low for a long period of time. But if the economy starts picking up and there's other ways to take your money, these interest rates are going to go up, and it's time to buy. And you can't rebuild a house at the level they're selling for right now.
Yeah, it's incredible to think, and to hit on your point with the low cost of money, it's the affordability that's really incredible right now.
There hasn't been 2 decades since it's been. I had two employees of McDonald's go together and buy a house. That's fantastic.
Their CEO and the VP of sales, huh?
A hamburger flipper and the fry baker.
No kidding.
Yes.
But that's good. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
The people with those type of jobs that maybe aren't buying in the core of Seattle or Bellevue, but the fact that they can buy a house is wonderful. I think it's a great thing.
It is. Another topic that I'm jumping around here is that now that we feel that we're at the bottom, it's just like the stock market. You don't sell at the bottom. So I live by referral, and I just listen to my clients. I even suggest the fact that we're at the bottom. Maybe you want to buy a second home and hang on to your other home if you can, because you might as well ride the wave up, because if this is the bottom, you don't want to sell now. So
yeah.
If you can buy a second home, great. If you've got to sell for a reason, I understand that. But this might be a time to catch the wave.
Well, Scott, lots of good information. Really appreciate you joining us. Again, Scott Cannon, managing broker with Windermere Real Estate. When we come back, we are going to talk with Sam Burns. We're going to switch gears a little bit off of real estate, but we'll come back at the top of the next hour. But if you are out looking or have a company and are out looking for new clients, you're not going to want to miss what we have next. You're listening to Brashenomics.